Good morning, students, and wishing all a very happy new year. So this is the first lecture for our course, Database Management Systems. Professor S.K. Ghosh, who is also here, and myself, we will be teaching this course in this semester. It is nice to see a lot of students who have already joined here. As we can see, it is 40 plus and almost same as the total number of registrations so far. And we expect more students to join in the next couple of days. So today we will have a brief introduction to the course and we'll take up the topics from next week so that by that time everybody who plan to register for this course, we will be joining the classes. About this course, as you know, it is a 303 course. So 3 hours of lecture and 3 hours of lab per week. And as per the current decision of the institute, we will continue our classes online on MS Teams. And depending on the situation and depending on the instructions we get from the institute, we might change over to hybrid mode and so on. So that we'll see as time comes. So for the time being, all of you are requested to join the meeting using the calendar event on MS Teams. Now, regarding this course, as you know that because we have 3 hours of lecture and then 3 hours of lab, so we will try to ensure that the topics that are included in the lab generally will be covered in the class, but there are a few exceptions which we'll mention from time to time. We don't want to mention it now because you may not really understand what we are talking about. So we will announce those things in the next week's lectures. So, but before we proceed, we see that there are about 45 or so students who have enrolled already. So here, when we conduct the class, our protocol would be that we will join using this calendar event, and typically we will start the this class maybe a few minutes before the scheduled time, and during the lecture hours and also during the lab, maybe not the entire duration of 3 hours, but at least when we give the instructions, we'll work it out. We will be recording the proceedings and it will be available to you. Generally, assuming that it will be available for about 20 days, though I think it has been increased now, but it would be safe from your side to download the recordings within 20 days from the day the class is held. During the class hours, you are most encouraged to interact, ask questions, and also reply to our questions. If you are planning to ask a question, it is best that you raise your hand, and you know how to do that here in MS Teams, and we will be getting back to you one by one. Also, you can write your message on chat and we will address those questions. And if we ask you a question and if you are willing to answer, please raise your hand and we'll ask one of you who has raised his or her hand here. So that is going to be our protocol during the class hours. Now, before we proceed, it would be good to get some idea from you as to why you would like to do this course. So you may raise your hand and share with us the reasons you feel that this course will be useful for you. So you may raise your hand and we can get back to you one by one. So anyone who would like to volunteer to share his or her reason for joining this course? Yeah, Deep Majumdar.
Sir, am I audible?
Yeah, yeah.
Sir, like as far as I've heard that like for most websites or web apps, the real speed of the app depends on how fast it can fetch its data and process its data, which I assume are stored in huge databases on very large computers. But That's what I want to know, how to make a thing, how to make a database that works fast. How is it actually, how does it actually work? Because a
Yeah,
lot of our current websites or web apps, the things that we use every day, like Amazon, Google, and other things depend on it. And yeah, I want to know more about that.
excellent. Yeah, so that is very important. And as you have said correctly, many of these applications that we interact with in our daily life, be it the banking applications or Google search or Amazon, Flipkart, or even our ERP system, all of them will be having some form of database in the back end to which we are connecting from the front end, maybe through a browser. So definitely that is something that you will learn in the course, and also we'll have in our lab some simple such mini projects where you will yourself also develop such types of applications. Others, anybody else wants to share the reason for joining the course? Okay, so maybe you are a little too shy initially, so you can definitely again raise your hand and share. So let us proceed with the introduction. So about the course, for the evaluation of the course, let us give you some ideas. Since this course has a total of 5 credits, so you have to keep that in mind, that overall load for the course will be commensurate with the number of credits. It's not like a 3 credit or a 4 credit course. Second is that because it is a 303 course, so that means that 3 credits will come from theory and 2 credits from the lab for the total of 5 credits. So for the evaluation also, out of the total of 100, 60% will be coming from theory and 40% will be coming from the labs. From the theory, out of that 60% that will come from the theory, there will be 2 tests at the scheduled windows that are given in your academic calendar, one in February and one in April. And other than that, we'll have, as part of continuous assessment, we'll have some quizzes, and we have planned for 4 quizzes. We'll share all the details with you. So these, out of these 4 quizzes, we'll take the best 3. But for the tests, we'll take contribution from both the tests during those prescribed windows. So that is from the theory. And from the lab, there will be assignments, and assignments typically will have to be completed during the lab hours. And maybe after February, we'll give you some mini projects for which you will of course get a few weeks. So it's not that something you have to complete during the lab hours for those mini projects. But as we'll also announce later, that there will be 2 lab tests, one possibly sometime by end of January or so, and the other one in April. So there, of course, you will have to do things during the lab hours. So most of the assignments for the lab will have to be completed during the lab hours, except for the mini projects. The lab tests will have to be completed during the lab hours. So that is what the plan is. And actual number of assignments, etc., will be announced to you from time to time. And as I said, that you need to uh, keep in keep going with both the theory as well as the lab, because some of the concepts in the theory will be required in the lab. But beyond that, also in the lab, you will have to pick up certain things which you will find very interesting, and on your own you need to pick up initially, but we'll make those announcements as we proceed. It will be too early to tell you what those are. And about the course, this content. So you can see the content on the course website, and I am also pasting that link here. So you can take a look at that. Just give me a moment. Yeah, so this is where you will get the details about this course, the content and so on. And from time to time, if there is any other update, we'll post it there. But generally, our mode of communication will be through this MS Teams chat, and also we will be sending you mails, which, like I sent today. So that is going to be the mode of communication. And as you'll find that in this particular site, we have also mentioned if you go to course details, that the suggested textbooks. So the textbook that will follow is named as Database System Concepts, and it's by Silversaj, Korth and Sudarshan, and it's a very standard textbook worldwide. And because this is the first course on database management systems, undergraduate level course, so we will try to stick to the content as is given in the first suggested textbook, which is one by Silversaj, Korth and Sudarshan. And we will be generally be referring to the 6th edition of the book, although the other editions also might be having similar content. But when we refer to a chapter number or a section number, it will be in the context of that 6th edition of the book. So that is something you need to keep in mind. It will be good to get access to a copy of the book, either a soft copy or hard copy. So it's up to you. And the presentations that we'll have in the classes, the lectures, those will be based on the slide sets that are shared by the authors of that particular book on their website. And we have appropriately modified and added a few things or removed a few things from those slide sets that are readily available on the course on the book website. And these slides and of course these videos will be made available to you from time to time. So that is about a very short overview for the course. I would request Professor Ghosh to maybe suggest something about the different types of database applications and other important topics that we need.
Thank you, Professor Surad, and welcome students, welcome you all for this course, and wish you a very happy and healthy new year. So as of now, as instructed, as Professor Surad mentioned, as instructed by the institute, we'll be going online, means the course will be running online, but as and when institute instruct for hybrid, we'll shift to the hybrid mode, right? As I think Deep was mentioning, like in several web application or for that matter in mostly all IT applications, there is a backend database, right? So if other than database, what we can think of, could have been any file system, any flat file system. You could have stored in any something like in some word processor or spreadsheet type of thing. So the challenges, as something your friend was mentioning, will be one is that getting speed of access and proper organization of the data. So that is one of the definitely a challenge. There are a lot of other aspects. So why we want to store data, right? First of all, want to keep that in a appropriate organized form so that we can retrieve it as and when required in an efficient way, like more often in a more what we say in a more faster fashion, right? Other than that, what else we want to have it from any when we store data and type of things, right? So we want to reduce redundancy, right? Even if when you are storing your say documents, etc. So you want to organize so that the overall that you can retrieve it or query on that set of things in a more efficient way. And there are one is that we'd like to reduce the redundancy of the things, right? Because redundancy may lead to inconsistency. If suppose your data is stored in 5 places, like we kept separately for a DBMS, your name, roll number, phone number, etc., right? And if other codes separately, all roll list separately. So there may be that if you change in your phone number, or there is if change in your say hall, we may not require your hall ID as of now, but if you change in your phone number or email ID, so all these things need to be updated appropriately, right? Or in other things, it may lead to inconsistency of the data. So one is definitely querying the data in a more efficient way, what we want to have, and of course organizing it and appropriate indexing. There will be other issues what will come into play, like concurrency control, right? Like when multiple updates or multiple retrieval is going on. So how to maintain that concurrency control, or in other terms, the word what will come into that transaction management, right? So what we find that these are the different aspects what we like to have when we have a considerable of amount of data to be stored and maintained. Right? So this database management system, as the name suggests itself, so we look it as a some sort of a software application or a system software at times for easy, efficient, and reliable data processing and management. Right? So if we put it in a one liner, right? So what it helps us? It helps us in creating a database. Suppose I want to create a database for say courses of IIT Kharagpur or courses of this computer science engineering type department and things. So I need to create a database, even say student database and type of thing. Want to query or retrieve information from the database, right? So one is creating and updating the database, storing data and retrieving, and overall management of the database, like it may be efficient memory management, concurrency control, transactional management, and there are other issues which are there, like integrity constraints. Right? We'll come to those things during the course. And there are few things we'll see that if time permits, we'll go to that. That access control and that who has the right to access what sort of data and type of things, right? So all those things require not only the storage and manage efficiently storing the data, also a managing the data, right? So this in this DBMS course, we'll try to introduce you through these concepts as Professor Sural was mentioning, and also as it has a back-to-back one lab is going hand in hand. So we'll try to give you appropriate assignments and mini projects as mini project as mentioned by Professor Sural, so that you have a feel that how a back-end database, front-end application works, and what are the different way of this managing and retrieving the data. Another aspect what will be telling you that suppose I want to make a application, or what we say like in line with what Deep was mentioning, web-based, web-enabled database application sort of things. That means I can have a web front end and web app in the front end and a back end database. Then what we see, first of all, I need to conceptualize the thing, right? Like which are the, suppose I want to make say our ERP system, only the academics part. So we need to find out what are the different entities there. Like student is maybe an entity, faculty may be entity, courses may be entity, department may be entities, and what are the different entities are there. So what are their properties, like, or what are their attributes, like student has a name, roll number, etc., etc. Similarly, faculty, department has some properties and things like that. So we need to, and what are their relationships, right? Like student register for courses, faculty teaches courses, and there may be a lot of other things, right? So if I say that you build a academic application, and these are the features at the top level, say institute asks to do it, or department says, then what you want to do at the beginning, you need to basically, this real life concept, you need to conceptualize and map it in such a way so that you can create a database out of that, right? So creating database means creating appropriate this representation for entities, like we'll see the tables, etc. later on, right? So for this we need to have a formal way of approaching it. Like if you remember during your programming things, you used to do that. Once you have that problem in things, you create a flow chart, then you go for the coding. So some sort of that you need to have some sort of a conceptual representation of the thing, of the. So those things also will cover in this course. So as you understand, there are a lot of components. We'll try to do justice to all the things, and also have to have a back-to-back lab so that it goes in hand. And as far as the application is concerned, nothing more to mention. We are whatever app or whatever things we are using, including this MS Teams, there is a backend database, right? So it stores different information, some of the meta level information, some of the actual information. So it's stored in a appropriate way. Otherwise, the management will be difficult. As Professor Sural was telling, that lecture will be for 20 days, it will be live, right? Or somewhere at that time. So how the MS team will decide that when 20 days will be over? So it has to maintain somewhere this information in an appropriate way, right? So if you look at all, as you are mentioning, all these e-marketplaces or commercial sites like Amazon, eBay, Flipkart, all those are having a backend database. Similarly, all if we look at the reservation systems, whether it be railway or even say airlines, all having things. Not only that, now we have some of the things which acts as a what we say quote unquote brokers, right? Like you book through say MakeMyTrip or Jatra.com and type of things. So they are neither having flights, neither having hotel, neither having cars, but they give you interface to talk to this different service provider, what we say, right? These are, if we call them service provider, and allow you to book and plan your things, right? So you require some underlying database to do that. There are a lot of other technologies involved in it, but you require it. And one great example is our ERP system, what you are using, what all of us are using, which is means our what we say developed in-house, and it has a huge database which handle these different aspects. Right? Just to end, that's not only it's a centralized, it can be a distributed. Lot of contributing different database developed by different organizations, different people may come into play, and we may have to write an app which talks to different type of this sort of things. Right? Okay, so I again welcome you to this course. Hope you will enjoy it. And as mentioned by Professor Sural, there are the book, standard book, what we will follow and things like that. So those will be, I encourage you to that have a copy of the book, either hard copy or e-copy, whatever is available with you. And hope we'll have a good time for this. Right? Thank you. Over to Professor Sural, if you want to add anything.
Thank you, Professor Ghosh. So before we talk about other things, so let us see that how many of you are in campus now? Could you please raise your hand? Okay, so that's actually almost, as I see that more than 50% of you. So yeah, so right. So more than 50% are in campus. So all of you who are in campus and also who are currently not in campus, so it is important that you take good care of yourself. Also, one other good. I think this is nice to see that many of you are in campus, and definitely we are expecting classes to be held in hybrid mode where you could interact with us in person. But I think we'll have to wait for some more time before we can actually do that. But that's fine. So we'll work it out depending on the situation. One other question we were having was, so you all have done a software engineering course, right? So now in the software engineering course, you must have built some kind of an application. So would anyone like to share whether they used any database while building those applications? Anyone, you may raise your hand and then you can share your experience. So those who have raised their hands to convey whether they are in campus, so they may now lower their hands. And if you would like to share your experience in the software engineering course, you can raise your hand and share what kind of application you built, whether you used a database or not. Yeah, so we have one raised hand. So Kotaru Parasurama, would you like to share? Okay, I think he has lowered his hand. So Aryan Singh, would you like to share?
Yes, sir. I built an NGO app which has 3 different persons login, and we have to keep an inventory system, and the students record that administration records, and we used MySQL for that.
Okay, very good. And how many tables did you have?
Approximately 5 to 6.
Okay, very good. So that is a very good experience that you already have. So that is really nice. And let us go to now Jayant. Uh, what did you use?
Sir, like we used MySQL, but we did not actually write any queries because we used object ORM in Django, like
Okay,
object relation mapping. So we did not use it directly to database queries.
right. Deep.
Sir, we use MongoDB for our database, but we also didn't actually write any direct database queries. We used Spring, so that
Okay.
translated it for us.
Right. Yeah. So since you talked about MongoDB, let us clarify that the kind of database that we'll focus on in this course is typically relational databases like MySQL or Oracle like this. And we are not going to discuss about NoSQL databases like MongoDB. So there is a next level course called Advanced Database Systems, which is offered in the autumn semester. So there we discuss MongoDB and other NoSQL databases. So in this course, we'll focus on so-called relational databases. We'll see what it means by relational databases. And our assignments in the lab will be focusing on MySQL and Oracle. So thought of clarifying that. Yeah. Yeah. Aryan, would you like to add something more? Okay.
No, sir,
Anybody? Oh, no issues. Yeah, that is fine. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you may lower your hand if you have no other point to add. Anybody else would like to add something? Okay, so it is a good thing that in software engineering also you were exposed to some of these basic ways of interacting with databases. That is what was also planned. And now in this course, we'll have more detailed understanding of what databases are, how they work, what are the various components. And very importantly, as was mentioned by, I believe, Deep at the beginning, is that we have to see how to make these databases work very efficiently. When we build some simple examples, like in software engineering, the focus is not so much on the database aspect, but on the entire systems aspect, right? So you might have first developed some use cases in a use case diagram and then sequence diagram, and then you ended up with an application where the data was stored in databases. Some of you might have stored the data in MySQL, some in MongoDB, some might have stored the data in individual files. So the database might not have been the main focus for the software engineering course. The main focus was more into the software engineering aspect of it, like analysis, design, and so on. So here we will focus on the database design itself, and initially we'll talk about how a database can be designed to work efficiently, and then maybe after say third week of February, we will be talking about how to have the data accessed more efficiently, stored in a way that the retrievals would be faster, and how we can handle, as was mentioned by Professor Ghosh, that when multiple users are trying to access the data, how we can ensure that still the data is consistent. So these are some of the more important aspects that we need to discuss, which are typically not considered, or they do not require to be considered in a software engineering type of course. So that is something that we thought of sharing with you on day one. I would now request you to please come up and ask questions. If you have any doubts, clarifications, etc., we will be happy to provide. Anyone has any questions, you may raise your hand and ask. Okay, so if you do not have any question at this point of time, this is fine, but we would always request you to be more interactive in the class, ask your questions. And for the lab, we will give you the announcements. Let us see the status of registration, and then we'll give you appropriate instructions for Thursday's lab, what our plan is. Okay. So I think if there is no other question, then we may stop here, and then we'll meet again for the theory class on coming Monday, the 10th of January. Right? Mr. Ghosh, is it fine?
Yeah,
then
that should be fine. That should be fine.
Friends, so, yeah, Professor Ghosh, yes.
No, that's fine. We'll lab instruction we'll separately give after that, once we see the registration and other things.
Right. Okay, so students, if there is no more question, we'll stop here, and then we'll go as planned.
Okay. So we'll turn off this recording also, right?
Right. Yeah, we are stopping the recording, and we are closing the class for today, and then we will give you further instructions about the lab. For the theory, our next class will be on Monday at 12. Okay. Thank you very much, and we look forward to a very interesting semester with all of you.
Thank you.